Hello, good people. Welcome to the HeavenEarth Church Podcast. This is the church that's looking to make a lasting impact in our community. And one of the things we love to do here on the podcast is to talk to people who are part of the HeavenEarth Church community. My name is Brad Miller. I help to produce the podcast. Our pastor is Ross Stackhouse, and we have connections with lots of great people. And one of the great people we're talking to today, her name is Kristy Stone. So, Kristy, welcome to our conversation.
Hi, Brad. Thank you. Thanks for having me on today.
Awesome. Glad to have you and meet you and have you be part of the podcast so people can get to know you a little bit and see your smiling face and see what you're all about and learn about you. So let's just kind of start here. What's hometown for you? Where are you from?
So originally, I was born in Greenwood, but when I was about 1.5, we moved out to Cloverdale, Indiana, which is about 40 miles west of Indianapolis, right in between Indianapolis and Terre Haute, right off I-70, same exit as Greencastle, DePaul University, small little town, Cloverdale. There, I graduated with about 82 people in the class of 2001. So small town, not born, but raised there, was there until I went to school in college, and I went down to Evansville for that at the University of Southern Indiana, and then kind of wounded back up here in Johnson County or south side of Indianapolis now.
Yeah. Well, tell me one cool thing about growing up in Cloverdale. What was something that made it unique or home for you?
So it really is that small town like feel and everything. It's just everybody knows everybody. And I am fortunate that I have this good group of friends that there was like 4 of us, three of us met in kindergarten and we're still friends to this day. I actually had lunch with one of them yesterday, and then our 4th came along in about 8th grade, and the 4 of us are still really super connected, and just that lifelong friendship bond and just kind of still being connected to that small town feel. I think that's what gives it that special uniqueness.
Well, that is awesome. That heritage going on. So that's awesome. Well, you have your brothers and sisters, your parents, that type of thing as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So my parents, I am one of 6. I am the baby, the only girl. My mom had 3 boys, and then my dad had 2, and then they got together and had me. So we're a his, mine, and ours blended family, but I am the only one from the 2 together, and I am the connector and the glue, and then my I'm the only girl, and my parents were older when they had me, so they were 42. My mom turned 43 the next day. So my brothers range in about 21 to 14 years older than me. So I was kind of raised as an only child, on top of being the only girl. So
Everybody's family got some unique aspects to it. That's part of yours then as well. So was church life, faith life a part of growing up in your family?
So there's a little bit of blending there as well. So my mom was actually raised for the most part Jehovah's Witness, and she did take me to the Kingdom Hall until I was about 5 years old. We didn't necessarily practice all the rules, if you will. Still kind of celebrated holidays here and there, things like that. And so it was her and I, but she was by herself kind of doing that and knowing that we wanted to kind of still have celebrations and things, she veered off when I was about 5. But then my friend from kindergarten, she was very heavily involved in a local church there, her and her family, and I started attending with her on Wednesdays and Sundays in about 3rd grade, and from then on through high school I went to that church and attended with her family.
Yeah. So the part of your life, there's some nuances there with the Jehovah's Witnesses, but it's a sort of faith life was a part of your life.
Yeah.
And you went off to college at USI, University of Southern Indiana. Tell me a little bit of what got you there and what did you do there?
So really kind of building on that small town feel. So myself and 2 of the others from that original 4 I talked about, we decided to go to the University of Southern Indiana together. It was very small. I only had to share a bathroom with one other person. And so, I wanted to branch out. It was also kind of it was about 2.5 hours away from home. So it was like close enough that I could still get back if I needed to, but I was far enough away that I had that separation, I felt like, so I could go and kind of do, learn how to be an adult, right? And actually that I think is probably some of the next questions that you'll get into. But so Joanna Burnett, who is her maiden name is Stackhouse. She is Ross's sister. That her and I met freshman year at college.
And you did pretty good things with her ever since.
Yes, it was kind of an immediate connection there, and definitely a lifelong friendship formed from that as well. Similar backgrounds. They are from, kind of a smaller town as well. We were kind of I was on the west side of Indianapolis. They were on the east side of Indianapolis, and then her and I met in college. She had, a core group of friends and a lot of good friends, and we kind of blended our circles as we met and kind of brought those two cores together.
Yeah. Well, tell me something interesting or about your college years that may have kind of led you to do kind of what you ended up doing in your adult life. Tell me a little bit about your experiences there. Good, bad, otherwise.
Yeah, so I was actually in college for radio television. I did get a bachelor's of arts in radio television communications degree. And so I had this dream that I was going to be a radio DJ or eventually maybe a talk show host. Rosie O'Donnell was kind of an idol when I was growing up watching her talk show. And so I thought that's where I was going. But what I did was I ended up first full-time job out of college, because coming back to the Indianapolis market, kind of hard to get into the media realm of life. And so I first full-time job out of college was in optometry. I was a technician, and actually somebody Joanna went to high school with and was a manager at an optometry practice and needed a technician. So that's kind of how I fell into it. And I just ended up learning so much, and I grew professionally, matured professionally in the optometry industry. And so ended up
where you're still at now.
Yes, yeah. So worked in a practice for 12 and a half years at that point. At this time, I'm now going on my 20th year in the industry. And now I kind of do more behind the scenes, but I provide continuing education for independent optometrists.
Oh, that's awesome. Was faith life a part of your college era experience in your early adulthood? Yeah.
So, you go off to college, you start learning and kind of exploring different things, and, trying to kind of see what the world has to offer. Right. So I will say that I was definitely more in tune as a young adult, and, or I'm sorry, like a teenager, and in my adolescence, more so because I had that connection with my friend and her family. However, in college, we had some wild times, some wild days and things. However, I did always still feel connected because I was surrounded by my friend that I had grown up with and her family for the most part. And then meeting Joanna, I mean, her and I still had that roots in a faith-based, foundation. And so that's something that kind of kept us grounded from time to time, I believe. So even though we weren't as close or in tune as we should have been, probably, there was definitely still that pulse check that we'd give each other every once in a while.
Well, tell me, how about in your adult life? You entered the workforce, now optometry industry. I take it you kind of stayed around the Indianapolis area for the most part since you graduated college in the optometry industry. So how is it that you ended up eventually to get introduced to HeavenEarth Church? How did this become a part of your life?
Yeah. So again, meeting Joanna in our early, late teens, early 20s, Ross was still a young adolescent. I don't even think he was a teenager yet. And so just, that big sister role, if you will, kind of becoming friends with the family and just being there. When we heard that Ross was starting this endeavor here in Johnson County, and yes, I did live locally. And Joanna actually had moved out of state. So
Joanna?
Joanna had moved out of state, and so when Ross was starting the church here, kind of as that big sister role, like with her kind of not here to support, she had reached out and he had reached out. Yeah, like I felt kind of like, okay, it's time, like I'm gonna go support and see this, and I'd been feeling a nudge and like to get back, kind of get more ingrained and back into the flow and rituals and things. And I was like, okay, I need to kind of get back to that. And and also I'm supporting, right? And so I started showing up at Johnson's barbecue. That's where he was, holding everything, and it reignited the fire and the flame in me that I had felt early on.
So were you involved with any other faith community prior to exploring HeavenEarth Church?
So when I was growing up, there was a hometown church down there, New Providence Baptist Church, and we went there growing up again with my friend and her family. They're very involved. Her father's one of the an associate pastor there, and so very involved. I kind of always had that as a home base. So when I'd go home, I'd go back to that church or anything.
Living around here.
No. No. So I had in adulthood, college, and then into adulthood, I never had found another home.
What I'm interested in here, Kristy, is kind of some initial impressions that you had. You had this experience of Joanna, you knowing her as your friend, and you Ross, kind of just a kid brother hanging around, that kind of stuff, I would assume. And then, but give us some initial impressions by when you connected up with the beginnings of the church several years ago now.
Yeah.
So first impressions.
Yeah. So, I mean, again, it was that spark that kind of I felt, where there had been a reignited the flame. And then also I was like, there's something different. There's something different about how it feels, and it just felt more natural and organic. And I really tried to not have that biased or, that, because again, little brother, right? He's like my little brother, so of course I'm going to support and love what we're doing here. But it was like, I wanted to feel it for as I'm a person coming in and experiencing it, not with that bias. Yeah,
it's a little deeper thing to get connected.
Yeah. And when you felt that and saw that happening, with with strangers or with people that I had never, met, and then you get back to that feeling of knowing that people are placed in your life for a reason. People are, things happen at the times that they happen for a reason. You're starting to kind of see those glimmers or those, reminders of okay, yeah, we're part of something bigger.
Yeah. Was there any time in that era when you kind of had kind of an aha moment, kind of, okay, this isn't just checking it out, being supportive, this kind of thing, but this is for me now? Was there any moment or any season of life when you kind of said, okay, I'm going to get invested in this?
It honestly, in the beginning, it was, I got really kind of consistently and deeply involved when the move was happening from Johnson's to this building, actually. And, I actually, Ross had asked us, myself and another friend, to join the board. And so I was getting a little bit deeper involved with the relationship here. And then seeing that migration to this building, how that process went. And then it was I had that, I again felt that spark. But then it was as you met people or started to have different conversations and saw how things come together with a church plant, It was again, getting, having that validation inside of your heart and that peace. So overall joy. But then immediately after all of that was COVID. And I actually had a really hard struggle with that because I was planning a wedding in COVID, and we ended up having to postpone it. And it just felt like there was a lot of uncertainty, unknowns, and we were able to still be connected as the church through that. And so that just really bonded, and that's where I started to feel more of that community versus just I'm here for support.
COVID was a time going through that really crucible type experience together. You came out the other side, and here you are. You're still a part of things, even more committed than ever, it seemed like to me. But what do you think? That's kind of how you got involved, and you went through this crucible experience here. So what keeps you at HeavenEarth Church? What keeps you here?
Again, community, the people, the transparency, the fact that we are able to come as we are, that all questions are welcome. We're not, we're not trying to fit everything into this square box. Mm-hmm. That's a big thing that keeps me here.
One of the things it's said about HeavenEarth Church, and one of the mottos of the church, that if you feel like you don't fit in church, you fit in here. Tell me, do you think that's an accurate statement? And if so, how have you seen that lived out?
Yeah, so one thing I always tell people when they first come is like, we're just a bunch of misfits and, we're just all still trying to figure it out ourselves. Nobody has the answer. And so I definitely see that. The various demographics of everybody that can come together here, and that just the fellowship that you see amongst us, and the welcoming, there's something different about when you're here with everybody, and it's hard to put it into words.
Yeah. I think your partial story is indicative of that. And it seemed like you've seen this transition happening with other people. You don't have to give names or anything like that, but have you seen that type of thing happen with other people where they've kind of had their own aha moment, where they had their own kind of powerful transition?
Oh, yeah. And kind of going back to when you asked me about my aha moment, this kind of feeds into that a little bit, because I had a very big second one. That was like when I was on the board and we were searching for a new administrative person, in some of the changes that we had a few years ago. Ross asked us to, we were going to have a silent prayer time and to just think about any names that possibly came to mind. And I know she won't mind if I say this, but so Ashley, who ended up working here, her name actually came to my mind at that point, when we were silently praying. And in the moment, I kind of was like, oh, I can't really because I knew he was going to ask us, and I felt weird because I had this name just repeat over and over in my head. She was an acquaintance, not necessarily. I mean, she was a friend, but not somebody I was super close with or somebody I hung out with. So there was no reason that her name should have really been on my mind in that moment. And when he said, okay, dear Heavenly Father, we went down to pray. It was just like her name just kept repeating over and over and over. And so then she ended up working here for the time that she did. And it was definitely like complete godsend. Like, we needed her, she needed us in that time. I reached out after, so we talked about it on the prayer. I was very kind of like, whoa, what happened? Reached out to her and just was like, hey, I know this might sound weird, but this is what happened. And if you're interested or looking for a job right now, I'd love to get you connected. And her and Ross talked, and the rest was history. So, yeah.
It felt like it was a God moment for her and for the church, but also an affirming moment for you as well. It sounded like.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of God's in this thing. I like, kind of see those as, God moments or lump in the throat moments. You go, okay, there's something cool.
Yeah, you felt like, and it's like, and then I saw the entire thing play out from start to finish, and it's like, that's where I am really focused on trying to listen for God to speak to me, because I do think that he's constantly speaking to us, and I laugh and say he's in a recalculating moment because we're constantly turning left when we should turn right. But trying to really tune out all the other minutia and noise and listen to the Holy Spirit talk to me to tell me what God's trying to guide us to do. It's very hard and way easier said than done, but because I've had that experience, I know that it is it can happen.
Well, the way you put that, Kristy, recalculating moment. It's kind of like on your GPS system, kind of recalculates your directions or whatever.
Yes.
And it sounded like you had that experience yourself. But do you see HeavenEarth Church as kind of a safe place, as it were, for people to have those recalculating moments?
Absolutely. That's what I mean when it's like all questions are welcome. One thing that Ross says a lot, especially when he's praying, is, Lord, help our belief, but also help our unbelief. And, that to me is that it's okay to have those questions. And just, kind of something he was saying, today, is, prayer is a conversation with God. I mean, you're just speaking out what's on your heart and mind already. And I even shared, he knows what's in your heart and mind already. So why are we trying to worry about how we're presenting that to him?
One of the things that one of the parts of the mission statement of our church is we exist to make a lasting impact in our community. So what does that statement mean to you? Do you think it's accurate for one thing? But then what does it mean to you?
Yeah, I mean, to see the relationships that we have forged so far in this community and with the various groups out there that are just out there helping anyone that they can, or, in their specific areas where they help, if it's kids related, if it's, adults related, homeless related, different things that we've been in tune with, and the experiences that we've been able to kind of experienced together in our community, it's been something amazing to watch. And so it's like I do feel like that is something that is super focused. And I think that too is what is different, especially in the way that we look in the recovery space. I think that's such a needed thing in our area, in our state. And I think that, the fact that we touch so deeply into that, it really proves to say like we are about the community and all of it, good, bad, and ugly, right?
Yeah. You mentioned there about the recovery community, and that one area where HeavenEarth Church kind of speaks to people who have various levels of brokenness in their life and distress in their life. And I want to turn around this, kind of bring our conversation to close next couple of minutes here, Kristy, with this. What do you, if a person was in your life, a coworker, a friend, um, a person that a relative perhaps, has some issue in their life that's pretty sensitive, whether it be whatever, health-related, relationship issue, job-related, they're having some distress and they've confided in you about it. And I got a feeling you're the type of person that people go to sometimes. Is that a fair thing to say?
Yes, very much so.
But is HeavenEarth Church the type of place that you'd feel comfortable inviting someone to make a part of their process of navigating their issue? Part of it's sharing with you, but could you feel this type of place that you would feel comfortable inviting them and for them to be to take the next steps in their journey?
Yeah, absolutely. I love the fact that we offer our live stream of what we do here, because I feel like that's a very good way for people to kind of dip their toes in, if you will, for lack of a better term, and they can kind of get a feel for the experience. You are right. I do have friends do come to me a lot, and I always let them know, like, I'm very open and I share on Facebook my relationship with our church and that I'm very involved, and so people know that I'm gonna probably recommend that, and they also know I'm not gonna judge them if they don't decide to take part in it, but I absolutely let them know that, like, this is a place that I've found some peace and comfort, and I just invite them in and let them know, like, they're gonna come here and they're gonna receive openness, welcomeness, and not no judgment, and so but I let them know it's on their terms as well.
Mm. Well, let's put it this, kind of close our conversation with this. And Kristy, you've mentioned about how other people have come to you and you've been able to share and you feel HeavenEarth to be a comfortable place. But let's just say there's somebody watching, listening to our conversation here today who's having their own issues going on. They may not know you or me or others, but would you just share with that person that why that HeavenEarth Church may be a place they may want to at least check out?
Yeah, I mean, again, it's that some things that words just may not be the best way to describe it until you come and experience it. But I'm always one of those people that, like, don't knock it till you try it, right? And you never know what you're gonna get. And if you come and meet a few people and you maybe are enlightened, what's the harm in that? So I just think come and experience what you can, and hopefully you make a connection and want to maybe come back again.
It's a relatively safe place to be, so, right?
Yes, 100%.
Absolutely. Well, her name is Kristy Stone. As she indicates, she's been a part of the connection here at HeavenEarth Church for several years now, 6, 7 years, something like that.
Yeah, right at about 6.
And a person that you need to know here at HeavenEarth Church. And thank you for being our guest today. And we love to have good conversations with people like Kristy and others here on the HeavenEarth Church podcast. We invite people to certainly check out the worship experiences Sunday mornings on Main Street in Whiteman, Indiana, and online at youtube.com/HeavenEarth Church and on Facebook too. But we look for people to be connected to a church whose mission is to make a lasting impact in our community. So I'm Brad Miller here with the HeavenEarth Church podcast, and on behalf of our guest, Kristy Stone, we thank you for being a part of our broadcast and look forward to serving you very soon at HeavenEarth Church.